So I started out with the rafters. They extend approximately 14 inches from the top plate. I rigged up this jig so I could hold the fascia in place, yet slide it horizontally as needed. I used 2 of them for each section. They held the fascia firmly in place. So I was able to place the fascia close to the previous section, then slide it into place. Now I was able to go to the other end and mark where it needed to be cut. Here I am cutting it to the proper length, applying wood preservative, and checking for fit. Using a pin nailer with 2-inch brads, I secured the fascia to the rafters. The fascia trim was even easier. I screwed a scrap piece of plywood onto the top of the rafter and held the trim in place at the bottom with another piece of plywood. Once again, I could slide it horizontally and nailed in place. Lastly, I made 2 jigs to hold the first row of 1x6 tongue and groove boards from sliding off the roof when I went to attach them. It may not be easy to see how it works, so I made these drawings. Here's a section showing the rafter, fascia, and fascia trim. And here's the jig. I held the jig in place with clamps, and the jig held the first row of boards in place. There really isn't much to say about installing the tongue and groove roof deck. I first started by fitting in one piece, then nailing it down, then going to the next piece and repeating the procedure. I quickly realized that was not the way to do it. First, you temporarily screw down the first piece, then lay out the rest of the boards without nailing them. You only cut one end to fit and let the other end extend past the section you worked on. When all the boards are laid, you snap a chalk line where you need to make the cut, and then cut all the extended ends with the circular saw. The first 4 rows were wider than the 8-foot lengths, so I had to butt the boards over a rafter to accommodate that. I used the roof decking as a makeshift work table by setting the circular saw so that it was only about 1/16 of an inch deeper than the thickness of the boards. Once all the boards are laid out and cut, I went back with the pneumatic nailer and nailed each board to the rafters with 2-inch galvanized nails. A brush was a very useful tool. Cutting the ends of the boards left a lot of sawdust, which acted like little ball bearings, making it difficult to walk on. The brush solved that problem. Before installing the boards, I'd first stained the underside. And the tongue and groove boards fully installed. As I may have mentioned already in a previous video, I wanted some extra thickness for the decking so that the shingling nails wouldn't poke through the 3/4 inch tongue and groove boards. I added sheets of 7/32 inch plywood to prevent that happening. I needed 2 sheets to fully cover one section. First, I added a full sheet and centered it on the section. Here's how I got it up there. Here I am just checking to see that the edge of the plywood is flush with the fascia. Now I'm removing that jig that I used to keep the TNG boards from slipping. Then I measured what I needed to cover the remaining area. Pieces A, B, C, and D were needed. I also trimmed off the 2 corners of the full 4x8 sheet. And this is the pattern I cut from the second sheet. The cross-hatched area was waste. I laid the sheet on one of my work tables, laid out where the cuts needed to be made with a chalk line, and then made the necessary cuts. And here's the 2 pieces that I needed for the section. Pieces C and D finished off installing the plywood for the section. I used 15-pound roofing felt over the plywood. I used the Stinger CH38-2 cap hammer to hold the roofing paper down. I bought that tool when I was building my workshop 3 years ago. These are all the tools I needed to install the drip edge. I know, the roofing felt should have been installed over the drip edge. So sue me. I'd pre-cut to the correct angle and positioned one end of the drip edge, then used a scratch awl and hammer to temporarily hold the drip edge down. I let the other end of the drip edge extend past where it needed to be cut. I marked where I wanted to make the cut and made the cut. After the piece was cut, I was able to use the holes I'd previously made in the drip edge and roof deck to put the drip edge back into the correct location. And the drip edge is cut and installed. Pretty much standard stuff here. Here I'm installing the starter strip, and I used architectural shingles.